With us now for more, live from Singapore is Jeff Nang, the head of Asia Macro Strategy at Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation. So good to see you, Jeff. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me.
So,
Kathy.
what do you make of the resilience of the PSCI and the peso's relative resilience? What's the key catalyst or catalysts you're seeing down the line?
I think over the past year, markets are now concerned that the US may not do as well as anticipated. So if the US economy is not the market to invest in, I think investors globally are looking into many other markets, including the Philippines. And I think the Philippines does have some attractive proposition this year with a lot of downside risk to merchandise trade. The services-oriented Philippines economy does have some potential to benefit as it may be less impacted directly by tariffs. And I think as investors diversify away from US, I think there's plenty of pockets in Asia. Asia continues to be the growth market, and I think that includes the Philippines as well with a positive demographic story, positive domestic consumption story. I think that is helping to benefit markets at this stage.
It's interesting you did make a mention of the political risk premium there. Duterte's arrest and the risk premium that it's stoking. Are you seeing any of that reflected in the risk appetites in the Philippine markets?
I think for now, it looks like markets are more focusing on Trump's policies. So I think this theme of Trump, trade and tariff have been the main global theme since the start of the year. Of course, in various economies, it could be quite competitive as well. Domestic policies does matter. For example, there have been some concerns about the president in Indonesia, the policies, whether they are likely to be favorable going forward. So that may have dampened a bit of the rupiah this year. But for peso, I think there's not been that much domestic concern. And I think that's also helping to boost the overall performance for the peso as well as for the stock market going forward. I think, of course, going forward, markets will also be watching out for the outcome of the midterm election, whether they may have an impact on policy making in the coming years to come.
What's going to happen later this week on March 20th, Asia time? Do you think they'll make a rate cut, the Federal Open Market Committee, and if so, by how much?
Yeah, I think for now, the Fed is likely to stay in a wait and see mode. We don't expect that the Fed will change policy rates. In fact, there's also some chance that the Fed may not choose to cut policy rates at all. That's what some of us in SMBC are watching out for. I think if the global market deteriorate and the conditions, economic conditions, employment conditions in the US deteriorate, there could be some case for rate cuts in the US. But for now, I think the uncertainty from Trump's policies on growth and on inflation in the US and in other parts of the world, I think these are highly complex at this stage, and I think markets may be mispricing the risk somewhat. So I don't think that the Fed may make any drastic adjustments to its current outlook and stay in a wait and watch mode for now as more data is being awaited.
10 seconds, your peso dollar forecast?
Yeah, I think maybe by end of the year, if there's some continued dollar weakness, there could be some chance for the peso to move lower, which means that it could break the level of 57 or even below. For now, I think if there's in the near term some concerns about inflation coming back into the US and perhaps the Fed taking a more neutral or maybe even turning hawkish, then there could be some pockets of dollar strength. Certainly throughout the year, we expect heightened volatility. So that may mean some periods of time, some months where the dollar could strengthen, and that should focus the attention back towards the 58 to 59 level once again. But for now, I think we still see that if the US economy starts to weaken a bit more, whereas the Philippines economy starts to recover more, I think that could help with some performance in the peso against the dollar, heading towards 57 or even below.
Got that, 57 and or below. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate the time and the assessment there. Jeff Nang of Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corp live from Singapore.